So today we've got the VIOFO A229 Pro. This is a 4K plus 2K dual channel dashcam setup. And right away, one of the biggest highlights here is that VIOFO is using Sony Starvis 2 image sensors on both the front and rear cameras. On the front, we're getting 4K HDR recording, and if we take a look at the box, there's actually quite a bit going on here. We've got 4K Ultra HD recording, Starvis 2 sensors, built-in Wi-Fi, HDR support, voice control, a 2.4-inch HD display, parking mode, GPS, and honestly, a whole bunch of features packed into this thing. So let's go ahead and get into the box and see what we're working with. All right, opening the box here. Man, this thing feels like it wants to stay closed forever. Okay, first thing we're seeing is the rear camera. This is the 2K rear unit. Pretty compact little camera, actually. Then we get to the main attraction. This right here is the A229 Pro main unit. And honestly, first impression, this thing looks really nice. The camera itself is rotatable and it can tilt up to around 90 degrees, which makes installation a lot easier depending on your windshield angle. The camera is built around Sony Starvis 2 technology, which is one of the reasons this dashcam gets so much attention in the first place. Taking a closer look around the body, we've got ventilation openings here, more ventilation on the side, a USB-C connection for the rear camera, and over here we've got the micro SD card slot. There's also another port available for an interior camera module if you decide to buy the 3-channel version later on. We don't have that module with us today, but it's nice to know the option is there. And over here, we've got the USB-C power connection for the main unit. So that's the camera itself. Now let's keep digging through the box. Next up, we've got the power cable, and this thing is long, like really long, which is exactly what you want when you're routing cables through a vehicle. We've also got the usual paperwork, some customer support information, electrostatic stickers, and of course the user manual. A manual is a manual, so we'll leave that alone for now. Looks like we also have another cable here that's intended for the optional interior camera setup. Then we've got the cigarette lighter power adapter if you don't want to hardwire the system. And finally, we've got the CPL filter. Let's get that installed real quick. There's a small alignment mark on the filter and another mark on the camera itself. You basically line those up and slide it into place. There we go. Now we can peel off the protective film. That always feels satisfying. And just like that, the CPL filter is installed. One thing we're noticing here is that the mount itself is detachable. So once you've got the mount installed on the windshield, you can simply slide the camera off and take it with you if needed. That's actually pretty convenient. Looking at the mounting system, it seems pretty straightforward. The front camera power cable plugs in here, and the rear camera cable connects right over here. Let's get everything hooked up and powered on. And there we go. The VIOFO interface comes up immediately. We can already see that the rear camera is recording in 2K, while the front camera is recording in full 4K. Everything appears to be working exactly as expected. So once everything was connected, we jumped into the VIOFO interface. Right away, we could see that the rear camera was connected and working properly. The rear unit was recording in 2K, while the front camera was capturing footage in 4K. Everything looked good to go. We stopped the recording for a second and headed into the menu system to see what this dashcam was working with. Inside the menu, we found video settings, system settings, and file list. Naturally, we started with the video settings. For resolution options, we had quite a few choices. We could run 4K at 30 frames per second on the front with 2K at 30 frames per second on the rear. There was also a 21:9 recording mode available, along with several lower resolution options all the way down to dual 1080p recording. For our testing, we stuck with the full 4K front and 2K rear setup, because that's really where this camera shines. Next up was bitrate control. We had normal, high, and maximum available. Honestly, we usually leave things on normal because it gives us a good balance between image quality and storage usage. Unless you absolutely need every bit of detail possible, normal gets the job done just fine. From there, we found loop recording, audio recording, exposure value adjustments, HDR controls, and a bunch of other recording options. Now, this is where we ran into something interesting. At one point, while going through the settings, the camera suddenly shut off. Then it happened again, and again. At first, we thought maybe there was something wrong with the unit itself, but after a little troubleshooting, we realized the issue wasn't the camera at all. We had been using a third-party USB-C cable. Once we swapped over to the original VIOFO cable that came in the box, the problem disappeared immediately. The camera powered up normally, stayed connected, and started recording without any interruptions. So if you're installing this yourself, definitely make sure you're using the included VIOFO cable. In our experience, it worked much more reliably than the random third-party cable we tried first. After getting everything sorted out, we jumped back into the video settings. Here we could adjust exposure values individually for the front, rear, and optional interior camera. We also had access to G-sensor settings, timestamps, time-lapse recording, HDR controls, image rotation, parking recording options, and custom text overlays. One thing worth mentioning is that this is technically part of a larger ecosystem. Since we're using the dual-channel version, we only have the front and rear cameras connected, but VIOFO does offer an interior camera that plugs into the additional port on the side of the main unit, turning it into a 3-channel setup if that's something you need later on. We also found options for license plate information, live view source selection, screen layout customization, and privacy mode. After that, we moved over to the System Settings menu. This section gives you access to Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, time zone settings, time formats, daylight savings adjustments, GPS controls, screensaver settings, language selection, and much more. For Wi-Fi, you can choose between 2.4 GHz and 5 GHz. We immediately switched over to 5 GHz because we wanted the fastest transfer speeds possible. Voice notifications are also available. We turned them on just to test them out, and honestly, the default volume was way too loud for our liking. It definitely gets your attention, but it was a little excessive. Thankfully, the volume is fully adjustable, so we turned it way down and it became much more pleasant to live with. GPS options were easy to access, speed units could be customized, and overall the menu system felt straightforward enough that we didn't need to constantly reference the manual. Then we jumped into the file list section. This is where you can review footage directly on the dashcam itself without needing your phone. Every recorded clip is organized and easy to access. We were able to scroll through videos, play them back, and review recordings right on the built-in display. Photos are stored here as well, although we didn't have many photos saved during our testing.
One thing we really liked is that if you're parked somewhere and need to quickly check footage, you can do it directly from the camera without pulling out your phone. That's a small convenience feature, but it's one of those things you end up appreciating over time. Now let's connect the app and see how everything works from the phone side. As soon as we connected through Wi-Fi, the dual camera system popped right up. From here, we could switch between cameras anytime we wanted. If we wanted to look at just the front camera, we could do that. If we wanted to look at just the rear camera, we could do that too. Or we could keep both cameras on screen at the same time and monitor everything together. Honestly, that's one thing we really like about the app. It makes it easy to check both camera feeds without having to mess around with the dashcam itself. From the live view section, we could immediately see all the footage and files we'd been recording. Everything was organized into categories, including normal recordings, locked recordings, parking recordings, and images. Since we hadn't really tested parking mode yet at that point, there weren't any parking clips available, but all our photos and regular recordings were already there and easy to access. Next, we wanted to see how fast the wireless transfer speeds actually were, so we picked a video file and started a download. And honestly, the speed surprised us. We were pulling down a file that was around 300 megabytes, and it was transferring ridiculously fast. The progress bar was flying. For a file that size, it wasn't even taking a full minute to download. That's one of the benefits of using the 5 GHz Wi-Fi connection. Compared to older dash cams we've tested, transferring footage from this thing feels much quicker and much less frustrating. A lot of dash cams advertise Wi-Fi, but then you're sitting there forever waiting for clicks to transfer. That really wasn't the case here. Once we finished testing download speeds, we jumped back into the app settings. And here's where things get interesting. Pretty much everything we could do directly on the dashcam could also be done from the app. We could change video resolution. We could adjust loop recording duration. We could enable or disable audio recording. We could adjust G-sensor sensitivity. We could modify exposure settings, we could access system settings, we could control Wi-Fi and Bluetooth functions, we could change time zones and date formats, we could adjust parking mode settings, we could configure parking G-sensor sensitivity, we could manage GPS options, we could control HDR settings, we could rotate images. Basically, if you can do it on the camera, chances are you can do it from the app as well. And that's a big deal. Because once the camera is installed on your windshield, nobody really wants to reach up there every time they need to change a setting. Being able to do everything from your phone just makes the experience a whole lot easier. We also tested a few other app functions. We grabbed snapshots directly from the live feed. We started and stopped recordings remotely. We switched between front and rear cameras. Everything responded quickly, and we didn't notice any major delays while using the app. Overall, after spending time with it, we'd say the software experience is one of the stronger parts of the VIOFO A229 Pro package. The camera itself delivers the image quality you'd expect from a premium dual-channel setup, but the app support makes everyday use much more convenient. At the end of the day, that's what we want from a dashcam. Good video quality, reliable recording, fast file transfers, and controls that don't make us fight with the system every time we need to change something. And honestly, that's exactly what the VIOFO A229 Pro delivers.